Hi, welcome back to Word Magic, and we are going to talk today a little bit about the writing process. I'm going to continue and elaborate a bit on what I said last week about writing the Wild Hunt and extrapolate that into other series that I've written. And I'm also going to give you a minor review of a couple tarot decks that I recently bought and that I'm absolutely in love with. So stick around, and if you have not yet, sign up for my YouTube channel so that you can get notifications when I have a new video. Be sure and hit the notifications bell below, and we'll get started here. So a bit of an introduction in case you don't know who I am. I am Yasmine Galenorn. I am a New York Times, Publishers Weekly, and USA Today bestselling author of over 65 books. I write urban fantasy, paranormal romance, paranormal mystery, and I've written nonfiction about magic and witchcraft in the past. And I spent 20 years in traditional publishing, mostly with New York publishers, and I've spent the last 3 in indie, and I'm entering my 4th year as an indie author. So I'm coming to you from both sides of the fence. And last week I was talking about how I feel my magic plays into the books, and I wanted to elaborate on that just a little bit. As a number of you know, I'm a shamanic witch. I have been in the craft since I was 19. I have basically created my own path. I've written nonfiction about it in the past, and I'm re-releasing some of that. Very soon I'll have a couple of my books back in print as well. The thing is, when you are a magical person, when you work with magic, it infuses all of your life. It's not something that you just set off to the side. For me, at least, it touches every aspect of my life, and that includes my writing. I pour so much of my magical energy into my writing that sometimes I don't have it left for rituals. Writing is an act of ritual to me. Writing itself is a ritual of taking thought and creating and manifesting it into reality, at least on the page. So when I say I pour my magic into the writing, I bring up that magical energy. I look at my beliefs and how they can translate into fiction. No, it's not preaching. It's not having an agenda. It's simply such a part of me that it becomes a part of my work. And so that's what I meant, is that my magical practice is an innate part of me. It's part of my core. It's part of my essence. And so it makes sense for that to go into my writing as well. And especially the Wild Hunt series. And it's interesting how that series has captured me so much. But then again, I look at the subject that I'm writing about, and I'm writing about the gods, I'm writing about the fae, I'm writing about the manifestation of magic in this world in a way that is different than I did before. And it feels very, I'm not going to say real to me, because I don't want people to misunderstand. It's not like I'm not going to tell you that Ember exists, or that, well, Hearn in my mind does exist as a god, but he doesn't exist sitting in my office talking to me. However, the energy behind the essence of Hearn and the essence of Cernunnos, and the essence of Morgana, and the essence of the Morrigan. The energy that infuses those deities, or for those who see them as archetypes, you can use that word, I suppose. I don't see them that way. But if you want to, that's fine. The energy that infuses those concepts and beings is what I draw on for the Wild Hunt world. And it's very near and dear to me. So I feel it in my gut. I feel it in my core as a tangible energy that is out there, that I can draw on for my work. So that is kind of what I meant. Again, it's not saying, oh, I believe Ember is real, because although, you know, when we're talking quantum mechanics, when we're talking parallel universes, in a way, I kind of believe that everything exists that we can think of in some other form, in some other universe. You know, so maybe Ember does live in a different universe, and I'm tapping in on that world. Who knows? I'm not going to try to say either way, but whatever the case is very real to me, and that's how I think I can make it so real to others. I have a lot of readers who talk about how I create the setting as almost a character, and it's very true. For me, the setting is another character. The setting is an actual entity, just like I believe that each part of the land in this world has a spirit, and there's a different feeling to the different areas of land. There's a different feeling to those different spirits and oversouls or divas, whatever you want to call them. And that's what I try to tap into. I am so connected to the Northwest landscape, to Western Washington and the forests here and the ocean, that I feel I can channel that energy into my writing, and it goes into the description of the characters and the feel of the mood. And so that's how I bring that part of the book to life, is by just tapping into the energy of the world around me. So that's a little of how I bring out that magic into the words. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments, and I'll see if I can answer them. As to how I get to know my characters, I'm going to give you a little secret as to how I meet them. I've done this for years, and it started out as a way to compartmentalize series, because I've often also been asked, how do you write so many different series without getting them mixed up? So this is going to sound a little crazy, but I'm a writer, and hey, we're all a little crazy. So when I think about my mind, I see it as this massive hallway with doors on either side. When I'm thinking about my career, I see that each door has a name on it, a name to a series or a world. When I want to work in that world, I kind of mentally walk to that door and open the door and walk in and close the door, and then I'm in that world. I'm in the world of the Wild Hunt. I'm in the world of Whisper Hollow. I'm in the world of Indigo Court. And when I'm in that room, I see it as an office. And if I need to talk to a character to find out something about them, I will sit down at that desk, whatever desk is in the room, and I will call that character in. I'll pick up a phone and buzz the intercom and go, okay, I need to speak to Ember. And I'm doing this all in my mind. So, and then I will hang up the phone and I will wait, and the door will open to the office and Ember will walk in. And I will not try to create her. I just look at who walks in the door. I see how she looks. I note the color of her hair. I note the color of her eyes. And I will ask her to sit down. And then I will start asking questions. And I listen for the answers. And I will hear the answers. She will tell me, usually. Now, sometimes characters will not tell me the answer. Case in point, with Otherworld, Smokey never told me his real name. And I firmly believe it's because in my worlds, and in my personal belief, dragons do not give out their names, because names, if you know the name of something, you have power over it. Smokey never gave me power over him, neither did Shade, or any of the other dragons. They never told me their real name, because it would have given me power over them. And their character, according to the rules of the world they lived in, their character wasn't about to give power over themselves to me. So yeah, I talk to my characters in my head. You know, it's a really good thing I make my living as a writer, because otherwise they might come and lock me up. And sometimes at night they talk to me in my dreams. And as I said, in prior videos, 3 series have I dreamt about. There's only 3 series that I've actually had dreams about the series or the characters. And that was Indigo Court, Whisper Hollow, and The Wild Hunt. The characters in The Wild Hunt enter my dreams a lot. Characters in Whisper Hollow entered my dreams a lot. I think it says something as to how real those worlds are to me, and just how vivid, maybe vivid is a better word, how vivid and dimensional those worlds are to me. So if you're having trouble with your characters, maybe interview them in your head. See if you can call them in for an interview and listen for what they have to say. Don't try to make them say anything. Listen to what they have to say, because if you're having trouble with a character, you may not be getting their character right. You might be trying to force things that isn't true for the character. So that's just a little bit more on the magic that I feel imbues itself into my work. It felt like it pushed itself into Whisper Hollow as well, and the Indigo Court. Not so much the other series. Those were a little more outside me, even though I could talk to the characters and everything else. They weren't as attached to my core. So as I said, I'm going to give you a couple little reviews of tarot decks, because people start asking about what kind of tarot decks do I use. My main tarot deck is the Thoth deck, the Aleister Crowley Thoth deck. I love that. And the Rohrig deck, which is a German deck. But I found a couple others recently that I absolutely love, and I'm going to show you, because they're very pagan in origin, they're very pagan in nature, and I really love the artwork, and the artwork speaks to me enough to where I'm learning the decks. So the first deck is by Rayan Phelan. I'm sorry if I get your name wrong, Rayan, but Raven Phelan. And it's the Dreams of Gaia deck. The artwork on this is stupendous. It's absolutely beautiful. Try to get this to where it's not glaring. I find the cards to be just incredibly complex, incredibly well drawn, and very, very evocative. I mean, look at that. It's just beautiful. It's not quite a regular tarot deck. It actually isn't an oracle deck, but it goes beyond tarot in that it has more cards in it than a tarot deck, and it's laid out a bit differently. So you can't read it just like you would a tarot deck. I'm starting to learn this deck. It's actually the book is very well written, and it goes into detail in a way that a lot of tarot decks and the booklets for them don't. So if you want a deck that has more substance in a way, as well as beautiful artwork and has a pagan slant, I do recommend this deck. I think it's beautiful. Here's the back of the cards, and as you can see, they're about that size. They're a little bigger than some tarot decks. I like a bigger deck. Actually, I have small hands, but somehow I shuffle a bigger deck better. And I'm just going to pull a card here, and let's see what it is. This is the 11 of air, and if you can see the dragon there, as I said, it's got more cards to it than the average deck, but look at the intricacy of the artwork. Beautiful job. So I've been playing with that one lately. And the other one that I just got recently is also by Raven Phelan. And it's actually an oracle deck. It is the Messenger Oracle. Now this one, the booklet is not nearly as complex, and it's actually a little simplistic in some ways, but for an oracle deck, I think the cards are evocative enough that you don't need the booklet per se. And here is one of the cards that I just absolutely have fallen in love with. And this is Seek Your Answers Within, and it's Great Mother Bear. And there's another card that's absolutely gorgeous, perfect for Beltane era. Let two become one, and you see it's the horned god and a fairy goddess. So yeah, I think that this is going to be a lot easier than the tarot deck to learn, because it's more based on what the card and the saying on the card actually, what it speaks to you, how it speaks to you. Whereas the tarot deck, I really do feel it's one that I need to study as opposed to just start using, because there are so many levels to this deck, and I feel like I can do a lot of self-analysis and self-work with this deck if I actually learn the deck as a whole. Now, people ask me, how do you learn a tarot deck? Well, I wrote a book called Tarot Journeys, which it is out there now in indie, but I will be giving it a new cover and putting it out in print as well shortly. So I kind of recommend waiting to buy it until I can do that. For tarot decks, I often recommend that you take the tarot deck to bed with you. Put it in a pouch and gently put it under your pillow and sleep with it. Do this for about 6 months. Carry it with you. Study the art on the cards. Without even learning the meanings yet, look at the cards. Get a feel for what they say to you, because the art is going to evoke that spark inside. It's going to bring out that sense of understanding on a subconscious level. For example, in the Thoth deck, there is the Nine of Discs. And that card is kind of abstract, but when I look at the Nine of Discs, at times, I see a mountain lion's face in it. And for a while, I was just like, why am I seeing this sometimes? And I began to realize every time that card came up and I saw the mountain lion's face, there was something surrounding the concept of leadership in the reading for the person. And I began to realize when I see the lion in that card, what I need to do is focus on how this relates to them taking leadership or reacting to leadership in their lives. Another card in that deck is the Five of Discs, or no, the Seven of Discs. And when I see a teddy bear, instead of the abstract way the discs are, at that point I realize it's childhood issues coming up, because that may not totally relate to what the deck itself says the Seven of Discs means, but that's what I see, and that's what my mind intuits, and that's what my psyche picks up. So I recommend learning. You learn the meanings of the cards, yes, but get a feel for what the art says to you. And that's why I always tell people, pick a deck where the art speaks to you. If you buy a deck and the art doesn't speak to you, you're gonna have problems reading with it. You're gonna have problems getting past not connecting to the visuals. This is a very quick primer on tarot, but yeah, sleep with your deck. Get it attuned to your energy. Learn what the art is saying to you. Definitely learn the meanings, but be willing to adapt them as need be when the art says something different. I recommend reading for yourself. Now, a lot of people say, no, don't do that, but honestly, I recommend doing a card a day for 6 months. And that's a good way to learn what the cards are, by the way. Doing a card a day, just pull a card a day and get a feel for what that card says to you about what the day is going to be like. Write down your readings also, because that will help you remember A, what you read, and B, it'll give you an insight into how you're reacting to the cards. When you do readings for other people, when you are starting out, make sure they know that you are starting out, because people will take things to heart, and I'm very, very cautious to always let people know that, you know, maybe I'm off. Maybe it's not going to relate to you. Now, I'm a really good reader. I have a very high accuracy rate. But there are times when the cards, A, will not let me read for the person because maybe I'm not supposed to know. Maybe they're not supposed to know in advance. Maybe it's an experience they have to walk through. If I can't read the spread, the layout, then usually it means I'm not supposed to be able to tell them what to look out for. Find a friend who is learning tarot and practice with each other. That way you both know where you're starting out at and you're coming from. I also encourage you not to do readings on every single thing. Don't do a reading for what dress you should wear. Don't do a reading for, whether you should go to the game or not, unless it's very important, because if you start utilizing the cards for silly things, they'll stop reading for you. They get very persnickety. So try to make sure that Well, the readings don't have to be earth-shaking. I mean, the questions don't have to be earth-shaking. That when you do read the cards, you've got a reason for reading the cards. And don't rely on them totally. I mean, you need to rely on your instinct and on reason, and the cards can play into it. So there are some basic hints. And if people are interested, by the way, I can talk more on things like this. I use the cards, I don't use them to plan out my books, but I use them to give me an idea of whether the book I'm writing is the one I should be writing at that point, and how reception will be, and what I should do in terms of focusing on my career and how I should adjust my career. So yes, I read about my career. I read about whether I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing or not, but I don't necessarily read about the actual writing of the book. I know some people who do, and that may be an interesting exercise for you too. If you love tarot, or you're interested in tarot, and you want to write, pick a card. Here's a good writing challenge for you. Pick a card and write a short story or a short paragraph or, a scene based on that card and what it suggests to you. So there we go. 2 decks I recommend by Raven Phelan. I still don't know how to pronounce her name. Dreams of Gaia Tarot and the Messenger Oracle. And until next time, at which point I'm not going to announce what I'm going to be talking about next time, because as I found out this time, it's not what I thought I was going to be talking about. But I will be talking about something. So take care, and I will chat with you later. Bye-bye.